From the Florida Today newsroom, this is the Florida Today Show.
Hello, welcome to the Florida Today Show. I'm Rob Landers. Today we're talking about two issues impacting Brevard County government. One is a lawsuit over a $30 million tourism grant to help one developer market its hotel property. The other is on a referendum coming before voters on recalling school board members. Both are important topics to discuss, and joining me today are Growth and Development Editor Dave Berman and County Government Reporter Ralph Chapoco. Watch. Dave, Ralph, thank you for joining me today so we can talk about some of the issues that are coming up in front of the county. Dave, well, both of you actually, I know that you've both been following the county issues with the Tourism Development Council and this $30 million grant to Driftwood Capital, who is building the Westin Cocoa Beach Spa and Resort that would actually allow for, I think it's $30 million, $1 million a year for 30 years for their marketing plan. There's a new twist in this story. Dave, you want to take the lead on this one?
Sure. The new twist is that a lawsuit has just been filed within the last few weeks against Brevard County and against the company that is building the hotel. And the lawsuit was filed by the Radisson Resort at the Port, which is a competing hotel in Cape Canaveral. And it's owned by Bob Barker, who's a well-known tourism official in the area, owns a number of hotels, and also previously was one of the top executives at Ron John Surf Shop. So the lawsuit is contending that the county commission illegally approved this $30 million grant, and that they didn't follow the proper protocol, and also that they should not have been allowed to approve it with only 3 votes rather than 4 votes, because it has a radical change in how the tourist tax is spent.
We're going to talk about those changes that the commission wants to make to how those TDC dollars are spent, those tourism dollars are spent. I keep saying TDC, how those tourism dollars are spent. But I just want to point out, though, that Driftwood Capital is building this resort that has massive convention space, correct?
Well, there's some dispute about that, because they say it's a major convention center and will attract new convention business to the area, and they say it's a 120,000 square foot facility, but they're also counting outdoor space as part of that. So in reality, the indoor part of the convention space is 50,000 square feet, and the outdoors part is 70,000 square feet. And opponents of this grant say that is kind of the size of convention space that would be used for a hotel of this size anyway. So it's not any great shakes of a major convention center like you might see in Orlando or in Miami, for example.
Right. So the convention space that is being proposed in Cocoa Beach is very similar to, say, the convention space that already exists at the Radisson at the Port. So, right. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is a little bigger indoors than the Radisson space, but it's not a huge increase in.
It's not radically different. Okay, so let's start talking about some radically different ideas. So Brevard County is blessed with being able to collect the 5% bed tax on hotel stays, just like anywhere else in Florida. But that money is now that money is supposed to be used to promote tourism projects in the county, correct?
Yes, that's correct. That 40%, 47% of the total collection is used for marketing of the county for tourism purposes, and the other 53% has various other uses.
Okay, so, and I'm not sure if these fall into those various other uses, but we've now got proposals from county commissioners to give half of the money collected by hotels back to those hotels to market themselves. And we have another proposal by a county commissioner to start helping with affordable housing. Is that correct, Dave?
That is. Yeah, the proposal, the first proposal you mentioned, was in reaction to this Driftwood contract where the Commissioner John Tobias suggested, well, if Driftwood is getting money back from the tourist tax, then other hotels should be getting the same thing back. And he asked the Tourist Development Council, which is an advisory board to the county commission, what they thought of the idea. And they really didn't like that idea. They felt that it's better to have one overall marketing campaign for the entire county rather than each hotel getting some money for their own marketing efforts. So Commissioner Tobias said he would not pursue his idea because the tourism officials on the Tourist Development Council were not supportive of it.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, that makes sense because you have a smaller hotel in Indy Atlantic with maybe 10 rooms is not going to be collecting nearly as much tax as, say, something with, 150 rooms in Cocoa Beach. And then is that fair that now you have, a marketing budget for this specific hotel in Cocoa Beach because it's so much bigger that gets more money to put back towards their marketing, whereas the grand plan, everybody gets, the same marketing, the same tourism marketing helps everyone. And
then the other proposal you mentioned about affordable housing, the chair of the county commission, Christine Zonka, is suggesting that the county find a way to use some of the money that's collected from the hotel tax and use it to help affordable housing projects in the county. And part of her rationale is that many of the workers at local hotels and restaurants are struggling to find a place to live that they can afford on their pay that they make in the service industry. And this could help those people out and in turn help the tourist industry overall. And right now that the county attorney's office is going to be investigating whether that use of the tourist tax is an appropriate way to use the tax if it comes under the guidelines for how the tax can be used. And there is some debate in the tourism industry feeling that that's not one of the allowable uses for the revenue from the tax.
Okay, so what is the Tourism Development Council saying regarding that? I mean, they're not. I mean, whether they can do it or not, is it a pro or no?
Well, they haven't discussed this formally yet. They are aware that Commissioner Zonka has proposed this. None of the members of the council so far have been supportive of it, but they haven't really had a formal discussion at a board meeting to get more formal viewpoints from the board members.
I will say that this is not something that is unique to Brevard County, where you have service industry workers who are struggling to find affordable places to live. We've seen the same thing happening in Key West, certainly in South Florida. I do have a friend who is a server at a restaurant in Titusville. Her rent is going up $700 a month, from $1,100 to $1,800 a month for a 600 square foot apartment. So there is definitely a crunch happening. So I'm glad that there are proposals being pitched to try and help those people. But it will be interesting to see what the attorneys find out of whether this is a doable thing or not. So. Okay, so Dave, not only are we looking at changes in the way that the money could be spent, we're also looking at some pretty significant changes to the appointees on the Tourism Development Council, correct?
That is true, yes. So the council is composed of 9 members, and it's an advisory board, and it helps decide how the tax money that's generated from the hotel tax, which is a 5% tax on hotel rooms and other short-term rentals, how that money is spent by the county. And right now, it's getting to the time period where members, some terms are up and other terms are not up, but the county commission is allowed to make changes even in the middle of a term of the people they appoint to this board. And one commissioner, Kurt Smith, already has made a change in his appointee. He had hotel general manager on the board previously, and he opted to replace that person with the head of the U.S. Specialty Sports Association, which runs the Space Coast Stadium complex and brings in a lot of tourists to the area through its baseball and softball competitions that are held there.
Okay, so Dave, the timing of this though seems particularly questionable. So you have the proposal of the $30 million grant that goes before the TDC. The TDC says no, we don't agree with this. This is not a good move. And then you have Rita Pritchett, who is the county commissioner, who sits on the TDC as the commission representative on the TDC, who feels like maybe some personal attacks or some attacks when the county commission pushes forward with the $30 million grant. And now all of a sudden there are appointees to that commission that are being replaced.
Right. The timing is suspicious in some people's eyes. The commissioners say that the criticism of them by the Tourist Development Council had nothing to do with their plans to replace some members. Commissioner Pritchett is also planning to replace her appointee, who's Tom Hermanson, who's a hotel owner in Cocoa Beach, Cape Canaveral area. And she plans to replace him with somebody from a hotel that is run by Delaware North, which also runs the Kennedy Space Center visitor complex. Her rationale is that she wants somebody from her commission district as her representative to the board. And Kurt Smith had a similar rationale, that he wanted someone that runs a tourist venue in his district, which was the Space Coast Stadium complex, to be his representative. And there's also a possibility that Commissioner Zonka may be looking at having some change in her representative as well, but although she has not decided one way or the other.
In fact, the one commissioner that absolutely said, no, I'm not, I don't want to change mine, is John Tabaya. And I believe his representative on the council is Keith Winston, correct? From the Brevard Zoo?
Right. Keith Winston is the executive director of Brevard Zoo. And Commissioner Tabaya has said that he disagrees with Keith Winston often on his votes as his Tourism Development Council representative, but he will not replace him in the middle of a term, that he feels like his appointee should stay on and should not be removed because of any actions that he takes as a tourist council member.
Right. I disagree with maybe changing midstream. The replacement appointees are not bad choices. So I mean, if you're going to make a replacement midstream, make sure that they're good choices. And the idea of someone who is maybe going to represent Brevard County's own theme park in District 1, which is Kennedy Space Center. I mean, because that's the closest thing we have to a theme park here, is smart. Having someone representing the stadium complex, which the county owns, correct? Do we still own it?
The USSA leases it from the county.
Yes. Right. So you have this organization that's leasing a county-owned property and doing wonderful things with it, because I mean, we all saw the decline in minor league baseball here over the years. USSSA has come in, and I mean, it's completely transformed the entire stadium complex, and they're bringing in people who are feeding that bed tax, who are feeding that 5% bed tax. Every time there's a tournament, the moms and dads and players who are coming in are staying in local hotels and are feeding that bed tax. So it makes sense. Does it make sense to change midstream right after maybe a contentious decision? It kind of looks bad, right?
Well, I think there's among people in the tourism industry, there's some suspicion that it was one thing led to the other, and not that these were two fully separate decisions. But the county commissioners, don't agree with that. That they felt that the time was right to make these changes, and they claim it didn't had nothing to do with their dispute with the Tourist Development Council.
Okay. All right. So we've had Ralph Chapoco sitting in the background of our conversation this entire time. Ralph is here to talk a little bit about the charter amendments that are coming up in the November election, specifically this amendment that would allow the recall of school board members. Ralph, you want to talk to Dave and I a little bit about that?
Yes. So this actually happened at the start of this year. A proposal was introduced at the Charter Review Commission, which is the governing body that actually reviews proposed amendments to the charter, and then forwards it on to the commission and eventually on, hopefully, for referendum and approval. It began in kind of the January-February timeframe. And if you look at the broader context, this is actually kind of a culture war issue, which has been happening throughout the country. It's just been amplified here, where school boards are now front and center on the culture wars that have been dividing this country, or segments of this country. So it went from the school board onto the county commission. Basically, what's been happening is that people have been unhappy with the decision that's been made on the school board about mask mandates, and believing that they are defying the governor's orders. The school board will say that it's to protect students and staff, but others, those who are opposing it, are saying that it's actually kind of defying what the governor's intent was to have students back in school. So with that kind of anger, with that kind of sentiment kind of fomenting, it served as a backdrop, or essentially as a focal point for the onus of getting school board members recalled. So back in January, Blaise Tredis, who's also the public defender, but also on the Charter Review Commission, decided to introduce a proposal to have school board members recalled. Now, in prior instances, this was never possible. But what you can do is recall county commissioners and other elected officials. So he put in a wrinkle there. He said, "Okay, I want to have school board members recalled, and I want them to have them recalled for the following reasons." He borrowed it from state statute. So there's a statute on the books that allows for this, not so much for school board members, but for many kinds of elected officials, such as county commissioners. But he added a wrinkle to it. He said, instead of, and there are prescribed reasons, probably 8 or 9 of them that I can think of, in which are actually justifiable grounds for having someone recalled or an official recalled. He put a wrinkle in it, though. He said, "I'm going to strip away all of those reasons, and I'm going to essentially make it down to 2. A school board member can either be recalled for malfeasance, which is one of the other, which is kind of one of the grounds for justification in state statute, and I'm going to make it such that they can be recalled for any vote they take on policy related to students, staff, or any kind of issue that is before the school board." So now we can actually have a school board member recalled for as simple as a policy dictating what color of paint we should be using on the building, or in this case, a mask mandate. And they also pointed to kind of the problems that they had with the transgender policies that the school board enacted. So that's revolutionary. That's a new way of a new justification for having school board members recalled. I mean, that's what kind of the opponents are saying. This is basically an act of political retribution, that if we don't like the results of a particular election, we can simply have someone recalled the minute they take office.
Right. But we're seeing that across the country. I mean, as when you started out talking about this, you were talking about the ongoing culture wars. I mean, as soon as President Biden was elected, I was seeing "Impeach Biden" bumper stickers everywhere. I mean, even before the election was finalized, we were seeing that. And so now we're talking about the local level of this, which is, I don't like that you said my kid had to wear a mask in school. Okay.
Think of the consequences of this. We're basically taking an institution that's supposed to be nonpartisan, schools, teaching basic facts, introducing basically dividing lines or fault lines into a body that is supposed to be with the basic function of teaching students. And that's been happening throughout the country, and it's just expanded. And it's created a dramatic kind of environment, so to speak, in which there's just battle lines over a basic kind of foundational kind of need, which is just educating children. So that's where we are as a country now.
Okay, so this goes on the November ballot. What is it going to take to pass? 50%, or does it take like a larger majority vote to pass?
It's a simple majority as of right now. There's other measures of other amendments that have been introduced that are a potential for votes on the November ballot that may change that. But as of right now, it's 50%. Now, here's the thing. That original version that Blaise Tredis actually tried to introduce actually failed. It was this dramatic kind of event that happened back in May, I believe, where you had a charter review commission that was supposed to be comprised of 15 members, but several didn't show up. And those people who didn't show up actually wanted this amendment to actually, or had at least an inkling or gave an inkling that they would support or potentially support this measure. A couple of them didn't show up. There was this procedural rule in the that was instituted in the Charter Review Commission, where if a majority of those present on the commission believe that they should not move forward with a proposal, they can strike it down. So basically what you had is this dramatic kind of environment that those are circumstance or situation in which, first of all, people who didn't show up, and you got this rule that was instituted that could potentially kill this bill. So it was just the perfect firestorm of events that led to its downfall. There were enough people there that actually killed this bill, or at least Blaise Tredis's version of it, such that it didn't move forward from that point, from May on. How this came about is just a little kind of convoluted, because in reality, there were essentially 3 recall provisions for school boards introduced at the Charter Review Commission. There was Blaise Tredis and a couple that were meant to amend the charter in such a way that was to fix a typo. Say what you want about Blaise Tredis, the public defender. He is a very exacting person. He likes things, especially written language, that is going to go on an official document. He likes them exact. So he submitted this proposal plus another one that was meant to fix a typo. So what he did was he did an end around. Once his original proposal failed, he attached an amendment to the second proposal he had to fix the error, the Scrivener's error. And he moved that forward. So here's the thing though. He couldn't get his signature, let's call it legislation. He couldn't get his signature language through, which is to recall school board members because of a policy vote. So what they did is they just mimicked state statute. We're going to now treat school board members as constitutional officers or constitutional elected officials who can be recalled, but he's going to mirror it based on state statute. Basically, the 8 or 9 handful of things that any elected official can be recalled for. I believe it's drunkenness, malfeasance, misfeasance, incompetence of some kind, and I mean there's several more. But now that whole mess with the recalling of school board members based on policy, that's been all stripped away.
Okay, so what we're saying now is
yeah, I know it's tricky, isn't it?
Okay,
there's a lot of
so
things that happen.
yeah, but okay. So what we're saying now though is that if I disagree with the mask mandate vote, now I can't recall a Jennifer Johnson, but I can recall, if this passes, I can recall a school board member the same way I could recall the sheriff or county commissioners in Brevard County. And why is that a bad thing? Why is that a bad thing now that we can go in and maybe there's problems that we didn't know about when we elected this person that arise during their term in office. Why is that a problem now?
Yeah. Ironically enough, all the opposition to recall kind of faded away once that proposal to recall school board members based on policy kind of disappeared. It's as if most people are actually okay with this. It was the fact that school board members were treated differently than every other elected official because they can be recalled on policy.
Right.
So all kind of the rancor and the raucousness of it just kind of disappeared after that vote. The Charter Review Commission passed that version, not Blaise Travis's original version, unanimously. So he got it through, but you can tell he was a little disappointed that he couldn't get his original version through.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So guys, since we've got you both here, I didn't realize we were going to have one speaking and then another speaking, but that's okay. Since I've got you both here, is there anything else that we need to talk about county-wise, look forward to coming up?
Well, one thing that's coming up now is the county budget. The second hearing on the county budget will be coming up shortly in the next few weeks, and the new budget year starts on October 1st. The budget does not have any tax increases with it, and there's no major cuts in services. So it hasn't been too controversial at this point so far. The public comment has been minimal, if any, and the first budget hearing has already been gone through with no opposition to the budget. So that's something that'll be coming up in the coming weeks, and like I said, the new budget year starts October 1st.
Right. Well, when that second budget hearing happens, you can watch it right here on FloridaToday.com as well. That's already set up and ready to go. So, Ralph, what else do you have coming up?
I mean, commissioners want to give themselves a raise. That's been coming up. I mean, they actually put it on for a hearing. Probably later on this month is is my suspicion. But they want to increase. They want a cost of living increase for a county commission. I believe the commissioners make about $58,000 right about now, and they want to increase it just slightly north of $60,000. So watch for that.
Indeed. Okay. Well, Dave, Ralph, thanks for joining me. And I look forward to sitting down with you both in the coming weeks to continue these conversations and keep an eye on all things that are happening in Brevard County. So until next time, thanks, everybody. That's our show for this week. If you have questions for Dave, you can reach him via email at dberman@floridatoday.com. Likewise, if you have questions for Ralph, you can reach him by email at rchapoco@floridatoday.com. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.